ControlUp provides various open APIs that you can use to programmatically control the platform, no matter if that is the DEX platform or maybe for the synthetic testing, VDI and DES, historical information, as well as ControlUp for physical and cloud PCs. So today we're going to have a look at some of the things that we can do with that. And first of all, I want to highlight the API documentation that can be found on api.controlup.io that provides you with more details on how to create keys and what API calls are available. So today we're going to have a look at our physical endpoint solution EdgeDX. At this time you need to request a support key or an API key from our support team. Soon you will be able to request that from within the product, but here you go. And in the documentation, we're under EdgeDX API, you see various APIs, API calls. The one that we are going to use today is list all devices, or at least that's the API call we're going to use to bring some data into our own web interface. And as you can see, you can test that. You can put in your API key, your tenant name, some of the query parameters here, and it will provide you with a sample code in different languages. But I already built something, so I built a web app in React, and I already have that running. Now this is the first time that I'm running it, and as you can see, there's no devices found because I haven't configured my information yet. To do so, in my case, I'm using a node proxy, so I am going to go into my Visual Studio Code to update that, and as you can see, it requests various information. So for everything to work, I need to fill out all these four. So the API domain, that is something that you will be able to find in your DEX admin interface. And in my case, let me just go pull that up. It's the ControlUp Tech Marketing, and it looks always something like this with sit.controlup.com. The API key, that is what we just talked about. I am not going to show mine, but you can use yours there, and of course also for the API domain, this part here will be different. For some other functionality which we'll see later, I also need the DEX account URL. Again, this last part will differ for you. And I also want the full EdgeDX account URL. And once more, where it says ControlUp Tech Marketing, that will differ for you. So let me save these environment variables, and I'm going to restart my web server, my proxy and my web server, so that those can be reread. Alright, I'm starting the proxy again and the web server. And the reason why we're using a proxy is, first of all, I can store all that data on the server side instead of on the client side. And in addition to that, I prevent some issues with CORS. We have fairly strict, as usual, with APIs, CORS policies. So by using a proxy, I can now access this web server from different machines without any issues. So as you can see here, it now queried all the devices, and as you can see, these are all my devices. I call this the grid. You see total devices 104. That's the same number you will see in my account. There we go, 104 devices. You see it here as well, 104 records. And these are all the devices that I will see in here. So what kind of functionality have I built? Well, it's very, very basic. It's mostly focused on kind of like level 1 support, and it's more a technology showcase to show you what you can do. But basically what this does is it calls the information from the API. So let's have a look at that. So this is actually my device grid React page. And as you can see, the first thing, and I'm not going to go through all of this, it will fetch the data from API.devices. Now, like I said, I'm using a proxy to prevent some CORS issues, as well as to secure the API key. So as you can see, it calls here API devices, which will go to my proxy server. And as you can see, here is the information. Actually, it will call this API URL, which is my domain with API devices. So if we go here, that is exactly what we see here in the documentation. And in addition to that, it will provide the API key. So in this case, I am getting all the information from the API, and you can see that in the header we need the API key. So it will retrieve all that and then we'll process it for the page. That happens in the rest of the code. The formatting, there's cascading style sheets. This is not a video to teach you how to do this, but I can tell you I use mostly GitHub Copilot for this. I am not a programmer, I'm not a web developer, but I would recommend using a Copilot type of tool, another a Gen AI tool to assist you with that. So what do we get? Well, we get some information about the devices. So first of all, we get the device name. In this case, I have an icon that if it's a desktop, basically a device without a battery, it shows this icon. If it is a laptop, which basically checks if it has a battery, then it will show another icon. Under that, we see the device name. It will also check if there's an active user on the device and information about what operating system. So is it Mac OS, is it Windows, is it a Linux or thin client device? It can find all that information. Now I have a search box here, which I can use to quickly filter, and you can see I typed in Joel, the number of devices goes down, and in this case it does both the device name as well as the users, because you see that this device name doesn't have the word Joel in it, but the active user that's on it is logged in or was logged in when this device was switched on. So let me show you one more thing here. I have a toggle to only show online devices. So in this case, again, I can filter it down even more, or without the filter, it now shows only the online devices, in this case 27 of them. So let me just go back to one of these devices. So what else do we have? Well, we have a reboot and a remote assist feature built in. So if I click on here, you can see it is remote controlling the device. And I also have a reboot function, and you will see that if I do that, this is that remote device that I just did. You see device reboot initiated, and it will initiate the reboot. Finally, I also built in a link to the full interface, so if you click on the device name, it will bring me directly to the same device, but in the DEX interface with all the other features, depending of course on your RBAC. And that's it.